Grumblebees, the banes of our existence when fighting the Queen of Sting here. Now the numbers can be overwhelming, but what if we can use their sting for our own pain and gain? What if after building Wickerbottom's newest bookcase, of course, there was a novel dedicated to taming the baddest of bees around? Well, there is, and it's called the Aquaculture Notes, and at the cost of 8 stingers and 4 honey per book, we can spawn 3 loyal Grumblebees to join our cause. So then, with 9 Grumbles per page turner, and seemingly no limit to just how many we can actually have at one time, what is stopping us from stinging everything, everywhere? Well, a few things, unfortunately. Before we poke out the eyes of every boss in this game, you should know a few things about these Grumbles, as they're not normal followers. They won't follow us across wormholes or other super duper long traveling methods. Re-logging following a disconnect happens to immediately turn them hostile, which is just lovely, of course. Attempting to hold the F key to attack anything automatically attacks the bees, as in the game's mind, they are still the hostiles. And oh yeah, using them against a hostile bee queen and her Grumbles is literally just going to result in us gifting her some extra troops for her army. She's going to snatch the loyalty right from us at the end of the day. But hey, other than that, we're actually good. We are ready to take on the Constant's biggest bads with nothing but Grumbles. And for the most part, we're not going to be using that many, and we won't be involved. And first up, the Crab King. No surprise here, the bees absolutely wreck the guy, as none of his attacks can even harm them. Especially if we're close enough to trick the game into not having him do his freezing attack. And if you've ever tried the OG bee method, you know exactly what I'm on about. Now, there is an issue with aggro and distance later on once the claws spawn, so my recommendation is to just screw the sailing around bit and treat this like the Bunnyman method instead. Grab a few ice staffs to counter his geysers, be prepared to kill a couple claws, have stuff to repair the boat in the event something goes wrong, and just sit back and watch the guy absolutely melt under endless stings. This might just be my newest preferred method after today, as it's that easy. Have fun. But how about a boss that's a bit more active? It's Dragonfly's time to shine, everyone. Or better yet, crack under the pressure, as even the hottest raid boss in the game is not going to stand a chance. And the best part, our loyal Grumbles won't actually give chase or go off script by targeting the larva unless we ourselves get too close to them. This means that a simple wall method could and should work just fine for those who don't want to do what I just did here. So make notes. Furthermore, don't even worry about putting your guys to sleep if and when she doesn't rage, as several should just awake immediately to get back to helping us. All in all, it's a super easy win, but some reinforcements might be required if you're not helping. And do bear in mind, that's the kicker. I'm trying my best to not do anything. So imagine if I was. But enough about Dragonfly. Let's turn our eyes towards a boss that isn't even from the Constants. Now I know what you're thinking. The Eye of Terror's charging attack is going to destroy our horde of friendly bees with ease, rendering this method completely useless, right? And you know, you'd be half right if the eye actually does hit them at all at the end of the day. Luckily, our bees have 180 health, meaning each one could take 2 charges, so there's a chance that most are going to survive the fight. As yes, Grumbles can win this one too. But to continue, Antline is here to once more show the world why she is by far the worst and thus easiest boss in the flippin' game. Do bear in mind though, that her spikes will occasionally strike our bees, and if said spikes are the biggest ones, our bees will die instantly. That said, hits are far and few between from her, while our Grumbles are too darn consistent with their 30 damage a sting for the most part, so there's simply no way she's gonna be able to handle it. In short, Antline sucks. But what about the second easiest boss in the game, Beard? Does Moose Goose stand a chance? No. No, she doesn't. She's a single target attacker who deals 150 damage on necking, meaning she needs to hit a single Grumble twice in order to kill them. And we've got far too many on our side, even with but 2 books read. She will die quickly and painfully, but her mosslings on the other hand might cause some issue. They might only deal 50 damage a hit. However, their tornado attacks hit multiple targets and they kinda get stuck on our Grumbles, meaning our Grumbles are kinda helping their own deaths, if you know what I mean. Our bees are vulnerable here. Chances are most will die. However, they will still do good work before they go to honey heaven. But from one bird to the next, how do they fare against Melbatross? Well, surprisingly not too great. Don't get it wrong. They'll win, and they fly, so they have an advantage over some other followers here, but in typical Melbatross fashion, her aggro and attacks are gonna get oh so annoying. We will have to chase her to keep our bees aggro on her, and she can two-shot them easily, so reinforcements might actually have to be called in. This is a fight that we'll have to take part in, I believe, but the Grumbles will eventually get it done. And the last bout that's totally winnable with minimal effort, you ask? The Ancient Guardian. It's really only the second phase that's even halfway scary, as it's then that the guy can start hitting multiple bees at once with his new shadow tentacles, of course. But before we even get to that, his 100 damage a hit is rendered useless from the start from the Stinger Onslaughts. You will likely have to summon more bees towards the end, as I said, but you will win this fight without lifting another finger, I promise you that. But before we fire through the fights that we'll never win in a million years, I'd like to float a couple plausible ones, starting with the shadow pieces. I'd be willing to bet that if we kill the bishop and rook first, leaving the level 3 shadow knight for last, then this is absolutely doable with relative ease. Unfortunately, the level 2 shadow bishop and rook are multi-target attackers with high damage, so luck will have to be on your side if you don't want to lose all of your guys before we even get to the level 3 rook. But it does seem possible. And believe it or not, so does Claws. Perhaps not normal Claws and his elemental attacks as they wreck our hordes of bees over and over and over again, and chances are our bees will eventually kill a deer, which is never good. But what if we got him to phase 2 and then decided to intentionally do just that? Now, Enraged Claws is the hardest and toughest boss in the game, and that hasn't changed. But maybe, just maybe, getting rid of the deer at a strategic time is actually a good thing. I'm leaning towards putting this boss fight in the no column, especially as it's going to be a pain to set up like this, but I can see the potential for sure. But as for the final bosses of the day here, there is little to no hope at all, everyone. And I'm guessing you can guess why that is. They all share an AoE attack. It doesn't matter if you can unfreeze your bees against Klops, as Klops hits everything for 150 damage a swing. I shouldn't even have to explain how terribly Berger is going to go with his 200 damage swipes and smashes. The twins deal a ridiculous 250 damage each and charge like crazy, so there is no way this is happening. Every phase of the Celestial Champion is off limits too, due to ground attacks that hit multiple targets multiple times, spinning attacks of absolute death that can shred most anything in this game, and all sorts of laser, moonglass, and sleeping mechanics that hit over and over and over again for high damages. Plus, level 3 has a very devastating melee. Yeah, bad news beard situation all around. And lastly, and somewhat sadly, the bad news keeps coming, as both Toadstool and the Fuel Weaver will not budge either due to Boomshroom damage and other AoE abilities, leaving the Guardian the only cave boss that's doable with Grumblebees. So, I guess there you have it then. Quote-unquote, all bosses versus our new loyal Grumbles, everyone. Some of you probably went into this thinking that they would be far better than they are, and I'll admit, I did too. All that said though, they are very fun, very cheap for what they do, somewhat viable all around, and I'm not just talking about bosses here, and they might still receive some tweaks to make them more unique over Bee Queen's Grumbles, so we shall see. But thanks for watching, folks. Well wishes to all, go be stingy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.